right there.
Yeah. Welcome in V949 WATV. The V stands for variety, but on Sunday nights it stands for vital. What's that? A little feedback. We good? Check. Okay, I think we're good now. I was hearing some feedback in the studio, but shouts out to everybody that's tuned in already. You all were on standby and ready to jump in with us, and we're so excited about that. Big show tonight. We are celebrating 15 years. 15 years right now, today, at this moment. 15 years ago, the show started. I was a young tender. My crew, everybody was young and vivacious and energetic and excited. Here we are 15 years later, still the same. All those same descriptors and adjectives are the same. More advanced, more experienced, more exposed, very well rounded. We've grown, we've learned, we've seen people, gained people, lost people, had experiences, did event. We've done things, and we have not just talked, but we have been vital in the community. Hello, all the way to Louisiana, Miss Claire. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Hello, Cal. Hi to you. Everybody else is popping in. Y'all come on in here. We have special guests joining us for the beginning of the show as well, and a whole heap to talk about. So we're definitely going to be on tonight for every second that we have. So, crew, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hey, it's our Lillian K. Bushline.
What's going on? It's your boy Reddy Eddie.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Big Gino.
Big Gino.
Not the little one.
And next to Big Gino, it's the one and only your boy Big Daddy Dwayne Thompson in the building.
Yes, and on the production side, you know who I am. And we also have
Marshall died, the new intern.
Did y'all hear Marshall? Someone said Marshall died, the new intern. Welcome, Marshall. So hello to everyone. How was your week? What happened this week for you guys? Big week, exciting week, slow week, old week, spring break.
Yeah, breaking of the spring. It was cool. It was a good
cool,
week. Yes.
right?
We got a lot we're gonna untangle.
We.
Yeah, but
Okay.
other than that, it was very laid back and to the point.
Okay.
Did anybody get April Fools on?
No. Then nobody fooled me, and I didn't think about it. I said it once, but I said it just to say it. Didn't get anybody. Did you get pranked?
I didn't. I played one though, but I didn't.
Figured.
I didn't get. Nobody got me.
Okay.
Got a couple folks though.
Okay. Lillian.
Well, shout out to my family. I won't say who, but we got an April. Well, I won't say April Fool's baby, but she made a fool out of us. She popped out of nowhere. So we have a new baby girl in our family, so I'm excited about
Really?
that.
Congratulations to the family.
So, good ending to the week, but I had a weird week this week.
Really?
Yeah, I had a brick thrown through one of my windows at the funeral home.
Now,
Like, literally.
now,
Yeah.
now. So I saw something about that, but I wasn't sure what I was. I don't know that I don't. What?
Yeah, just random. Dude walked straight up to the window, right at the window, threw it, took off running. Had nothing else to do to this week, I guess.
That's about the size. Like that's the size of it. Mental health issues are
real.
Yeah, and visible. We're starting to see more of that and seeing things that are. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to do some vandalism to a random building in a neighborhood, but a funeral homes historically is one of the pillars of strength of the community. And we rarely have anything happen, to the building itself because it's almost looked at not as a church, but, a sacred place
Right.
where you pay reverence to the dead.
Right.
But yeah, this person felt really compelled to break our window. And thank God nobody was sitting at the receptionist desk because if they had, they would have been really hurt.
So you all saw the footage of it, of course. Probably will even see the person in the neighborhood.
Maybe.
Dwayne, I see you pull the mic to you.
I mean, the realisticness of it is crazy because I graduated I'm about to tell my age. I graduated high school in 1987, right? So in about 1985, I was living in LA and I came to church one day and somebody had tagged the church with like gang signs and stuff, right? And I'm like, where is the world going to when you put your gang tag on an actual church. It wasn't just on the side of a building, right? Like you said, Arlene, it's just the church.
Right.
The church on the corner, the same one that give you hot dogs and feed you and see to your mom and them and all that stuff. But you gonna tag the church. Then you know, sit on the church steps and leave your bill and stuff. So we talking matriculate from 85 to now and just think of how worse it got. So it's just people that they respect for what is sacred or what used to be is like the times in which we live. And that's what I was telling you in the chat. It's like they ain't tripping, they don't care
That means
about
nothing to
nothing.
me. I don't know you. I don't know what you're doing in the community. You ain't doing it for me. Yeah.
But they'll be at the food truck park Thursday.
All right. Yeah. So those are the dynamics, right? Okay, that too. Those are. This is the space that we're in, and it's going to lead. That type of situation leads to more of what we're going to discuss later on in the show. Before we get to that part of the show, though, we have special guest in studio or coming to the studio about something that will help get people off of the streets. A lot of our leaders and political figures and influencers are trying to help. Everybody's trying to do their part, and they are like our Lillian said, food giveaways, food sales, clothing drives, back to school events. We do different things. There are also job fairs, and we have one coming up this week, courtesy of our treasurer for the county, Miss Erica Parker. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome. Welcome. Who do you have with you, ma'am?
I have Rosalind Stone. Hello,
welcome,
everyone.
Roz.
Hey, y'all. So
you are doing great things. Always have been. And
thank you for saying that.
yeah, we've been trying to get together for the longest. So I'm happy that you're here tonight and doing something that is vital. This is vital what you're doing, and we want people to be there. So tell us a little bit about what you do, what your role is, and then what the event is about.
Okay. I do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of things. Mainly, I'm treasurer for the county.
Okay.
I'm the county treasurer.
Watching all the money for Jefferson County.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm putting on this event at Ends of Law from 10 to 2, I think. It's 10 to 2. And what else, Ross?
It is.
Yeah, just tell us what
it is a financial career expo for jobs in the business and finance area.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So with that being said, can anyone come that's looking for a job, or do they need to already be in business and finance?
No. Anybody can come. It's open to the public.
Okay.
If you're looking for a job in business or finance or anything to do with business and finance, that's on Tuesday at 10 o'clock.
All right, Tuesday at 10. So business and finance, you're the treasurer. So what's your history when it comes to the two, the business and the finance?
Okay. Now, I went to law school.
Okay.
Okay, but then I went to MBA.
Okay.
So I got into MBA that way. I got into learning money and finance that way. And I want people to actually come because I want people to grow in the industry of money because we need money.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we need to know what to do with it and how to manage it,
exactly.
how to budget it.
So
okay. Look at you what you trying to switch over?
No. I think it's great. I think it's highly needed. The education of finance, especially in our community, is heavily needed. We oftentimes, I mean, I can remember in economics, and when I was in high school, we had an awesome teacher, Mrs. Ziegler, who really taught us economics, like the old school way of economics. The end of the year trip was to visit Coca-Cola. He taught us all how to balance a checkbook, what credit card rates and APRs and all these different things meant, and he alluded them to or made the symbolism to different things that we could, understand on our level back then. And not all teachers go in to that depth with you, especially in the realm of economics. And I think it's a lost art that is not being taught anymore. At one point, it was the parents to kind of teach you about bouncing a checkbook,
right.
Or people don't even write checks anymore. For one, for two, you got so many different streams of revenue out there and ways to get revenue. Meaning from your social media, from your social revenue platforms. People don't know how to utilize those often. So everybody just really out here living off Cash App and Venmo and a lot of these different things.
Right.
They're not really paying attention to their debit cards, their check cards, their bank account. They're not really using their bank accounts anymore. And they're they're being victims of the predatory lending thing, which is a a huge deal in our community.
Okay, Gino. Big Gino coming with the facts and information. So with the job fair, like the other side of that, as an individual, yeah, I need to know all of this stuff. But as somebody that's looking for employment in that field, we know that everywhere needs employees right now. Everywhere. Everywhere I go, there's a line, and they are short of people. So if you were listening, or if you know someone who is looking for employment in that field, send them out Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Inslee Loft, 1816 Avenue E in Inslee.
We sure gonna be there.
Okay, so what was the inspiration behind this particular event at this time?
Now, I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do. In fact, we had a brunch to give the banks give the banks credit
Okay.
for coming. I
What are you doing?
yeah.
Tap in.
Tap in, right?
Okay, so we have just come from this COVID pandemic era.
Mm-hmm.
And as she said, we have lots of companies, businesses that have some in some way lost their employees, whether by retirement, whatever.
Right.
We're trying to build the industry back up because without this industry, the county can't function. We have to have good financial people in place for the whole entire county to function.
Okay.
So if we feel like if we put on this event to try to get some more people in the industry hired, and then we'll build on that and we'll go to the next phase and we'll go to the next phase and then we'll go to the next phase.
Right.
So this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
So we'll be building from here.
So are these entry level positions that
They're all
they're all positions? So you
From
mean to tell
bank
me
tellers to vice president.
so not only am I coming to get a job in money or about money, but I'm coming to get a job.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
It's applause.
Look at you trying to see what you're doing here. So yeah, doing something else. Doing something else. So do they need to bring resumes, be ready to be hired on the spot? Like how does that part go?
Yeah, bring a resume and actually be ready to be hired on the spot, but also do what you do. Do what you do. Be the person you are.
Okay.
When you get there, be the person you are.
Come in ready. Don't do the fake. Hello, yeah, my name is so and so. Don't do that. Be who you are from the beginning. I don't have a good fake job interview. I don't know how to do that.
That also means
I don't know how to fake.
that also means don't show up in a t-shirt.
Oh, right. All right.
It's a job interview.
Yeah, like I know what to put on, but I'm not going to fake. There's no code switching. Hello, my name is Daniel Wood. I'm here for this job. Run it.
So
Right.
many times I'm seeing them taking pictures of the job fairs.
Yeah.
And they're dressed like they just walked off the street. So I was just about to say the same thing, Gino. Like, show up for what you want. And that's visually and mentally. Like, if you want to get this job, show up dressed. Dress doesn't have to mean a 3-piece suit or anything, but at least have some slacks, a shirt, and a nice tie.
Absolutely.
I did want to amend that too, Kate. I will say, not everybody is afforded to be able to have proper ties. So if a t-shirt is all you have, at least get the cleanest t-shirt you got. Maybe tuck it in. Wear your pants the right way. Look people in the eye. Shake hands firmly. And
Interview skills.
yeah, interview skill 101. I mean, if you're coming to get a job, and these ladies just said they're trying to rebuild the banking industry. That is infrastructure, and this is in our community. It's not over the mountain. It's not Mountain Brook, Vestavia, Hoover, McCalla, or somewhere. This is right here in the city. This is in Birmingham. This is in the county. It is a county, excuse me, but I mean, I'm talking to my city folks. Y'all come out. You need a job. Man, come out.
And in this particular industry, Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the Loft, 1816 Avenue E. And then for those of you who are listening that may just want to support, I like to see support. Just because you're not looking for employment, you have some sisters here who are serving us in the county, serving us, period, and putting something together. So just go out, just go. Hey, y'all, thank you for doing this. Take some pictures, post them on social media, be out. You can do that as well.
Shout
I
out
also
Sterling
wanted to add,
Music
I'm
Hall.
sorry.
I'm
I also wanted to add that we wanted to take the nervous, out of the interview process. So if by chance you come and you get an interview, we have a company that will conduct a mock interview before you go to your interview. So we want everybody to come,
Big.
get some tips before you go to your interview. We got you covered.
Nice. That's good. Let me give you some bells. I'm doing some other stuff over here, but that's good. We're gonna give you some applause as well. That is super good. So I've never heard of that element with the coaching before you go in front of those who may be hiring you there. We need you to work at our place. So that's awesome. Give us the full details again.
It's the Career Expo is Tuesday, April the 4th from 10 to 2, 1816 Avenue in Ensley. That's Birmingham's Ensley Law.
Awesome. I want to know why we have you here, a treasurer, with the Jefferson County budget. Like what or the money of the county? The role of the treasurer typically is like to hold the money. You know how we have our club meetings, we hold the money, we write it down.
That's what it is.
Is that
It's
still what it
cool.
is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
So
It's like that. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me how.
We take the money of all the people that make money. We take the money and make money. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what we do.
Did you know that like that? We didn't know it was like that.
I know people think that I take taxes and do that. Not the treasurer. I don't do that.
So you just report.
Okay. No, I report all the money that I get in, but the money comes from the people that work there. I take care of their money.
Okay.
That's why I'm a treasurer.
Okay, because I said it was like a club meeting, and we reported, we give out, we put in.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because we want to hear. We're trying to learn something. Y'all been teaching us already. I want to learn this process.
All of the municipalities in Jefferson County report to her.
Oh,
Yeah, and what she does with the money is grow it.
okay.
So we invest the county's money where it makes the most money.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So if you had a bank, I would visit with you.
Okay.
So that's what I do. I do this every day. I'm not talking enough. I do this every day. What I do is go into banks and sit them down and say, "Hey, give me what you got."
What's your rate?
Yeah.
Okay.
How can you help?
Yeah.
Okay.
How can you give me more than I asked for?
And this is on behalf of the county.
Yep.
Boom. Look, we just learned that.
Definitely. Thank you for telling us that.
Yeah.
And it's black excellence, man.
It
Let's give
is.
one more round of that.
It
Black
is.
her too.
It's her story. So now that we know that, because we didn't know, right? We were sitting here just like, okay, the treasurer of Jefferson County. And that's an elected position as well, right? So we'll vote, right? People vote, don't even really understand why they're voting for this particular position. They know the person. I'm voting because we go to church together. But what do you do in your position? What are you going to be doing? So now we know. Now we know. Okay. Any other questions in the studio? Y'all got your what you need. You know where to be Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. For the career fair. Once again, give us full details what you all are looking forward to and what you expect from the people.
We are looking to have a good time. We are looking to have people come in, present their best self. We want everybody to feel comfortable, ask questions. Even if you're not quite sure if that's the field for you, come in, talk to people, find out what you need to do to be able to be this this position, whatever you need. If you need a degree, if you don't need a degree, find out what is necessary to obtain this position or this whatever it is that you want to do.
Okay. You got anything else?
She did everything.
Okay. Look, I don't need to tell you nothing. I need to go to the bank and get money and grow it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And put on these fairs. So you all make sure that you go. If you know somebody that's already, I would say, especially those who have already been in the industry, and you know the language, you know the jobs, go get one. Especially if you've been out of work or underemployed or whatever your situation is. I think this is a great opportunity for you. Tuesday, 10 to 2 at the Ensley Loft.
Now, I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm actually saying it's for certain people.
Okay.
I'm not calling those. I don't know who those people are. I don't know when you get in, I don't know what feel you're gonna have or
Okay.
doing a better job. But I want to say that I have a cousin that she was actually in the financial industry when I started,
Mhm.
and she was going up and going up and going up, and all of a sudden she got the bug to be a teacher. So
Just
yeah,
switch it up.
yeah, she switched it up. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you want finance and you want to grow financially, come to the job fair.
All right. Well, there's your invite.
There's the information.
You
You
learned a
learned a
lot
lot
in
in
just a
just a
few
few
minutes. We
minutes. We
just
just
got
got
started.
started.
You
You
already
already
now
now
know
know
like
like
three
three
things
things
that you
that you
didn't
didn't
know
know
because
because
I
I
didn't
didn't
either.
either.
Now
Now
we
we
know.
know.
And
And
now
now
you
you
can
can
share
share
the
the
information.
information.
You
You
can
can
also
also
share
share this video.
this
This
stream.
stream.
It's
It's not a video.
goes
It's
live.
live.
So
So
you
you
can
can
share
share
this
this
for
for
others
others
to
to
get
get
the
the
information,
information,
and
and
then
then
let
let
them
them
know
know
that
that
they
they
can
can
reach
reach
out if
out
they
if they
need
need
more
more
information. If
information.
they
If they
need any
need any
more
more
information,
information,
how
how
can
can
they
they
all
all
find you?
they
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 can
can
email
email
me
me
at
at
stonero at
stoneRO
jccal.org.
Stone RO.
RO
At jccal.org.
We'll
We'll
keep
keep
it
it
posted. I'll
posted. I'll
post
post
that.
that.
Y'all,
Y'all,
the
the
county
county
and the
and the
city
city
with
with
these
these
email
email
addresses.
addresses.
My
My
goodness.
goodness.
BirminghamAL.gov.
BirminghamAL.gov.
Like,
Like
what?
what?
Anywho,
Anywho,
we
we
got the
got the
information.
information.
That's what
That's
we
what we
needed.
needed.
That's
That's
what's
what's
vital.
vital.
So
So
thank
thank
you,
you,
ladies, for
ladies, for
stopping
stopping
through
through
tonight.
tonight.
We'll
We'll
be
be
by
by
there
there
on
on
Tuesday to
Tuesday to
see
see
what's
what's
happening
happening
and
and
who's
who's
there
there,
and
and
just
just
to
to
be
be
vital
vital
with
with
you
you
guys.
guys.
We
We
appreciate you.
appreciate
Thank
you.
y'all
For
so much,
sure.
ladies. Awesome.
For
For
sure.
sure.
Coming
Coming
up,
up,
y'all, we
y'all, we
got
got
a
a
lot
lot
that
that
has
has
happened
happened
over
over
the
the
week.
week.
A
A
lot of
lot of
things
things
to
to
talk
talk
about
about
as
as
it
it
pertains
pertains
to
to
young
young
people.
people.
Spring
Spring
break,
break,
like
like
spring
spring
break
break
brought
brought
about
about
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
turmoil
turmoil
for
for
some.
some.
For
For
others,
others,
it
it
brought
brought
about
about
fun,
fun,
vacations,
vacation,
trips,
trips,
that
that
type
type
thing.
thing.
For
For
others,
others,
torment,
torment,
trauma,
trauma,
drama,
drama,
and
and
even
even
death.
death.
So
So
we
we
come
come
back, we're
back, we're
going
going
to
to
talk
talk
about
about
that,
that,
but
but
we
we
also
also
have
have
some
some
positive
positive
things to
things to
talk
talk
about
about
as
as
well. If
well.
you
If you
want to
want to
get
get
in
in
on
on
the
the
conversation,
conversation,
you
you
know
know
the
the
number
number
is
is
99 or
or
what's the
what's the
number? I
number? I
forgot.
forgot.
What it
What it
is?
is?
I
I
can't
can't
remember.
remember.
Anywho,
Anywho,
call
call
in if
in
you
if you
want
want
to.
to.
I'll
I'll
know
know
it
it
in a
in a
minute.
minute,
And
and
then
then
you
you
can
can
also
also
comment
comment
on
on
all
all
of
of
our
our
live
live
streams.
streams.
We
We
got a
got a
lot to
lot to
talk
talk
about.
about.
That's where
That's
my
where my
mind
mind
is.
is.
So,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
be
be
right
right
back.
back.
It's
It's
Vital on
vital on
B94.9
B94.9
WATV.
WATV. It would take like 10 or 15 minutes. What is it? Let's see.
when I go to museums, I go by myself because I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
like,
keep
I'm
that
gonna
up
read
by
everything.
yourself. Give us the
Yeah.
cliff notes, okay?
We're good. We're good on that.
Nah, that's dope though.
So yeah,
Why you got so
that's
much
what I did.
knowledge?
What did you all do for spring break?
You know what? I didn't
Work.
really realize it was spring break for real. I mean, I did because I did less in the schools,
Okay.
but I'm still working on some things for myself. So, like we said, I really paid more attention to what was going on in the city and trying to be kind of informative on that side of it. Because I have these different personalities and boxes that I work in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm the cook guy. I'm the educator, but I'm also the youth against violence and violence
Mhm.
prevention guy. And I kind of been like leaning a little back on that, but it
Something's
just
going on.
yeah, and it just really dug into me that we really need to do something. But I'll say this before we get into it any deeper. The first thing I realized is we got to stop playing the blame game. We've got to stop playing the blame game as to who's responsible. Doesn't matter who, it is happening.
Okay.
So what are we gonna do to curb it or to make less of it happen? You know, like we do know somebody shouldn't have been outside late at night. We do know some, but you can't just point a finger in a situation because do you know the whole situation? Did they lie to mama? Did mama have to work? Was mama dog tired from working 3 jobs trying to pay a rent because she's a single mom? You can't come on television and say you parents need to parent.
So we're gonna talk about it. We got to dig deep for every because I don't know. Somebody may not know what we're talking about
Yeah,
or what you're
I'm just-
what
yeah.
you're speaking to. But that's what your spring break was paying
Was
attention
set on
to.
trying to figure out how do we galvanize all resources
Mhm.
and stop playing, oh, I need the money, you need the money, I'm better than you,
Ooh-wee.
you know, and see this as a community effort and issue that's more than about the money and who can get the most money for playing like they're concerned.
Somebody else said that and we're gonna like I said we're gonna come to that the whole like full throttle on that. But the idea that spring break is for people who have children. If you don't have children and they're not out of school, you don't have a spring break.
Right.
So that's probably, your children are not on that time anymore. Eddie, spring, did you do a spring? Like, what did you do this week?
I just slowed down
Okay.
because I go to schools, I work with kids in the schools. So when the school is out, I get a little break. So I just took my break in stride, ready to get back to it this week.
So in some kind of way, all of us work with children. Gino, you have children, and I also saw you training some children or some young people.
Yeah, so I do have small children, and they were all out. So we took a little trip up to the Tennessee.
Okay.
Took out the Chattanooga Choo Choo, an aquarium. Did a World War II duck mobile tour, which is a land and sea utility vehicle. So it's
Okay.
basically a boat with wheels. So it drives you around on the land, then it actually goes in the river, and they gave us all the Indian history and the history of Chattanooga and all these different things. So I do have a little fun fact that I learned.
Okay.
So during the late 1800s, everybody thinks that the Magic City was the #1 producer in steel in the early 1900s, but guess who it was?
Probably Tennessee.
Chattanooga.
Because you went to
'Cause I
Chattanooga.
went to Chattanooga. But guess why they stopped being that? They had over 106 factories. There was a government deal born called the EPA
Uh-huh.
that was born that came about during that time. They shut down all those factories because Chattanooga sits in the bottom of the mountains. It's surrounded by mountains, so it sits in a bowl.
Okay.
So it was so much pollution and smog that the EPA was formed by Franklin Roosevelt, I think, and they basically closed down all those factories. All those people lost their jobs, and they dispersed. Which and the boom helped us, the Magic City, Birmingham, become the #1 producer in coal and not coal, but steel.
Wow. History lesson. So Gino, you paid attention on your break for real.
I did.
And I guess because of the connection to the city, like that's
big.
okay. That's definitely vital. So you bring the smog here, and then we become the Magic City. Like dang. So
But we're not in a bowl though. We're not
True.
surrounded by mountains. And we do have mountains, got a lot more, trees and vegetation and different things. Right. It
Jeez.
dispersed though, but I mean, it was a um pretty enlightening moment because I always, I mean, the number one was has always been Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has always been number one. We always thought we always thought us being number two and number one. Never knew anything. Nobody ever know. At least nobody that I know of. None of my friends knew Chattanooga was
Mm-mm.
a number one producer of steel at any
Mm-mm.
point in time,
Did not.
or had that many factories. So it's pretty amazing. Useless knowledge for y'all out there.
Not, no, but it really is. It's pretty useful. One thing I did.
Useful.
One thing I did recognize when we were. My father just shows up at my job.
Hey, Daddy.
Hey there. One one thing that I recognized when I was in DC and like listening to the other people who were looking at the exhibits and just kind of how they were looking at things and the disconnect from now from kids now to us and how we were about what we were learning and experiencing. It's such a different intake. I don't It's like they're so disconnected from the history. I don't know. It's a super disconnect. I just really saw the disconnect, and even with some of the adults. Now, my daughter did ask me in the African American Museum, I wonder how the white people feel in here. What made them come?
Mm.
Okay. They want to know the truth, and they were there for the truth too. So just the different ideas of history being shared and how what we find vital.
I do have a statement to that because I think that was they do what I think they do want to know the truth, but I think our kids want to know the truth too because guess what? Growing up, what were we told? We were told a lot of stuff that really wasn't true, and we couldn't look it up on the internet.
Mm.
Like, don't do this because this might happen. Don't do that. We were scared into, kind of scared straight. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of things that would, and not to say that it would not have been for our own good during that time, but in our culture, we were more so, at least the way I was raised, a lot of my friends, a lot of my family, it was like, don't do this because of this. And then you find out that because of this is really just a farcity to keep you
I
from
just wanted
doing
to
what they
keep you
want you to do.
scared.
Right.
Okay.
Or a certain level of control. So I think, you might have two cultures at the same place and one culture not paying attention because they've been hoodwinked, if you might say,
Bamboozled.
bamboozled,
Right.
and then you got another culture that's paying attention because they have too been hoodwinked and bamboozled, told about various things that were not true as
Mm.
well.
Hmm. All right. How do you see history? What does it play into today? As I told you guys, we're celebrating 15 years of Vital today. And I have a clip that I want to share with you that's so relevant. And it's going to get us into the conversation that Dwayne brought up as to how he spent his spring break. And then what I just said, what Gino just said about history. Historically, we've been having this conversation. And we've been having this conversation for 15 years. And on this particular clip, one of our former mayors, Mayor Larry Langford, was
Rest in
in
peace.
with, at the time, the School of Hip Hop was the name of the show. He was in with us then, and this is what he had to say.
I like Nancy Wilson, Jimmy Smith. I like Phil Philip Perry. I like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Have you ever noticed whenever they have city stages like this year, when they have Mays can come to town 100 times and they'll sell out 100 times
Yeah.
because all of those old folks, that's all we know.
Well, as you see, we are getting personal with Mayor Langford, but I do want to get into a little business and ask you a couple of professional questions. I guess you can call.
Sure.
Do you feel that the recent summit actually reached the people that you intended for them to reach?
Well, I know it's going to be a long process. We didn't get to this point of disliking and hurting each other and disrespecting each other and killing each other overnight.
Mhm.
And we're not going to solve the problem overnight. But if we don't start somewhere, we'll never begin to address the problem. And so, if nothing else, we had nearly, when you add it all up, close to 10,000 people attended those three summits. And that's a good start anywhere.
Right.
But until we learn to change our hearts, all the police in the world won't solve the problem. We have to once again look at each other and understand that, there's nothing free about freedom, especially for us.
Right.
You know, we think that we were always at this point in our lives where we were just accepted and could just go through life and everything was fine, but it wasn't that way. So it's going to take a long process, but I believe in my heart we'll get there.
Okay, what can we do here in the School of Hip Hop to help you and to help our community? We are, like I just told them, we are the voices and the faces of hip hop here in our city. And we want to do all that we can to actually fulfill our role and not just be voices talking about something. We want to actually make something happen. What was your campaign slogan?
Let's do something.
We want to do something.
Let me tell you what you guys can do. Well, one of the things that's missing out of the culture today for young people, the hip hop generation, there are no causes for you.
Right.
It just seems to be all over the board. It's all about me. And unfortunately, it's gotten that way for the older generation who have become complacent, eating the low-hanging fruit on the tree that other people paved the way for with their blood, sweat, and tears.
Right. And I totally agree.
I just don't see, and I'm being very honest with you, I don't see young people rallying around any causes today. I looked at what's going on down at the city council, and this guy comes in and he wants us to pass an ordinance to ban low-hanging, what is called a
Bag and pants.
He wants us to pass an ordinance banning saggy pants, etc.
Right.
Well, I personally don't like it, and it's somewhat repulsive to me. But I don't think I have the right to pass a law to tell someone how to dress.
Right.
And I think that with all of the issues we've got in this world, and I remember back when I was a young teenager, I had an afro so big all you could see with my eyes and teeth.
Okay.
It was power to the people.
And it still is with me.
We had our causes. The world fought us, but there were causes that talked about equality and that sort of thing. So today, a guy stopped me. I spoke at a church this morning. He says, are you going to support the ordinance to ban sagging pants? And my personal feelings is I really think it's kind of repulsive. Nobody wants to look at your underwear, your rear end, any of those things. But how far do we go? Once the government says what you can wear, it's only a matter of time before we start just telling you how many children to have and what to name them.
Right.
There is the danger that I see. And so I refuse to be part of a government that I personally think is out of control now anyway. We're in a war based on lies, and we justify the lies. And so now we're saying we're going to focus on the situations at home and begin to tell everybody what they can and can't do. And when these things happen, is to keep you from focusing on the fact that over 4,000 Americans, not to count the untold millions, well, hundreds of thousands probably, who have been maimed in this war.
Right.
4,000 killed. But you got to look at the way the country spends things to the point the war is now on the inside obscure parts of papers and media reports.
Man, Langford, I'm going to have to stop you right there so we can go to commercial break, but we will come right back, and I'm going to get you back on the phone lines because I'm sure we'll have some questions coming in, okay?
Hey, you be over.
All right. Wow.
Man, I miss him.
And that's major.
So, that wasn't that like current conversation?
It was, and he was a forward thinker. So true. I'm like Gino tonight. True fun fact. I met Larry Langford when I first got here. I have an organization called Alabama Youth Against Violence, changed into Youth Against Violence, and now it's YEV Ministries. But the first time I met Larry, he kind of sent me out of his office, right? Like, get out of here, I was like, oh well, but
oh, wow.
But it was who he was, right? Because he didn't have time to play with time. You know what I'm saying? And I respected that. But he was the person who hired me for the position that I had in the police department, which was a community liaison at first. So I was one of Birmingham's first community liaison through the mayor's office. And my sole duty was to deal with violence prevention in schools, and the relationship between the police department and the homeless kind of going awry and in the wrong direction at the time. So those were the two things that I had to focus on, along with him and Chief Roper. So yeah, big up to that. He was a forward thinker, and when he got out of office, they decided that they had a police community relations assistant position that kind of mirrored what he hired me for.
Yeah.
And I was able to matriculate into that for the county.
Okay.
But I actually was one of his mayor assistants, first liaison to the city in that that's what he did. That's what part of when he said do something.
Yeah.
That was part of his do something. He looked at it, he seen it, he seen the work that I had done, and he called me and he told me
Let's
what he
do
wanted
something.
done. So and that's what happened.
He did a lot. He said some things,
Yeah, I actually wanted to say he hit another major point. Larry did, Mayor Langford. Um, Teen Summits. Y'all remember that show on BET? Like we were talking about what things we can do to reach the young people, to talk to the young people, to stop the violence things and everything like that. But I haven't seen the consistency, and I'm not pointing the fingers by no means, but the consistency as far as it being programmed on TV. You had Teen Summit back in the day. You had the 106 in Parks. You had all these shows, these positive shows that painted black people and wanted to be back in a positive light. I don't see those shows anymore. I don't see, I don't see them on BT. I don't see them on. Definitely don't see them on MTV. You definitely don't see them on VH1. You don't really see them around. I mean, I know there are a few churches that try to hold different,
Like
teen
summits and
nights
things
and
like
young,
that.
young folks nights and things like that. But where is the consistency from a whole conglomerate of people where, look, we're going to do this thing, we're going to put it together, we're going to put this money in, and we're going to have something for the teens, stop the violence rally. I mean, there have been some. I'm not saying that there haven't been some. I'm not saying that there won't be more, but there hasn't been a consistent pressure on like a conglomerate of people coming together, like all these different churches, the community, private investments, the whole nine, to come and say, hey, okay, we're tired of it. Let's come together. Let's do something. Let's have something big. Now, I do remember the only thing, I think 4 years ago, the Wolfen administration did put in peace in the parks.
Yeah.
And that was a big uppercut to kind of curb that. It was an attempt. I put it that way. It was an attempt, and that was put in place by one of the assistant police chiefs. It was from L.A. at the time, and he brought that idea, and the administration really liked it, and they grew it, and it was cool. It was cool to me.
So I hear that. And then Dwayne, you and I have worked together in those spaces before, and we have aged. Like that was 15 years ago. I sounded 15. That was the very beginning. The music was at the top of the day, at the off the Richter scale. Like we didn't know. It was new. We're young, right? But we've grown too. So when I think about how much time has happened since then, when we were able to go into the schools, I was in the schools, in the elementary schools. People wanted to see us come, and then who's supposed to go now? Is it still us, or should it have been the generation that our beautiful intern is in? Like who would like who Dwayne?
But here's a couple of things, a couple of
both.
words you have to learn. One is fear. Fear has just taken control of those who want to do and who would like to do. Retaliation, and I see our intern shaking her head. Retaliation, and the fact that a lot of people have just plain old gotten tired and given up. When he said that it's not an overnight thing, our society as a whole, and maybe Eddie can explain this or help me out with this, it's just a I need it fixed now society. We've gone from the microwave society, and we've gone from microwave to, I call it the when it was on the cartoons. And it's the Yapple Dapple now. So it went from microwave to Yapple Dapple. I need an apple. And it's, that's what they expect. If they walk through the house and they want something, it's like, if they can't speak it and have it, all right, want to be rich. Do you? Well, let's get you this job. And so now with those three words just by themselves, I think we have an interesting thing that's going on. And people just being to themselves. Nobody wants to do anything for everybody, unless, and I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna be a whole lot of trouble, unless it's something in it for 'em.
Absolutely.
And
He
it's about
said that in the clip.
yeah,
Like
it's crazy. And people
all of
don't
them
realize the money that runs through violence. I'm gonna give you a real quick synopsis, but I don't want to take this subject because in my heart
we
I've been
got
doing
2 hours.
25
So
years.
yeah.
But my thing is when it comes to money, let's do this. Kate is in the funeral business, right? Let's talk about how much money touch a body.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one body and how many people it keeps employed. It's almost the thing that they told us, the war against drugs. We're going to war over here, but we're going to bring it over there. We're going to give you 18-wheeler, but we're going to bring in a boat. We're going to give you somebody who you don't really know and name him El Chapo, which probably ain't the name, but then let El Chapo go.
So what I'm hearing you say is that by design, a lot of these things are cycles that we are going to continue to see because somebody's benefiting
because
from
people
them.
profit off of it.
Gotcha.
There's money being made. I mean, think about insurance companies. Think about the police department. Think about if you stop the police department, insurance company, funeral homes, the person who pick up the body, the people who produce the bags for the bodies, the people who make the toe tags for the body, the mortuary, the refrigeration for the bodies, all them folks got jobs, all them people. And if you stop it,
true. Okay. So,
Well, you ain't gonna close us down though.
Look, people are gonna die anyway.
well,
but
people, not the funeral home, but I'm saying,
But
but
the whole
I'm not. I'm talking about
I know,
all
I'm
the
just
other,
messing
yeah,
with you,
but
yeah.
all the other things that touch it in the whole fullness of the circle. So why am I going to stop making or allowing people to make money
for
or
sure.
profit and cause a downspiral, even in economic? It don't make sense.
Right. So we've been talking about how the economy benefits from either black excellence or lack thereof. So now we're on the lack thereof because we're looking at youth and young people and who's being killed, who's doing the killing. Let's get to the core of what we think some of this is about. Lillian and then Eddie.
So I truly believe that if we each do a little, then none of us got to do a lot. With the village, we got to stop being everybody's best friend, the kid's best friend. You got to allow your neighbor, if they see your baby out at 2 a.m., you may be at your job working, but if your baby is outside at 2 a.m., it should be okay for your neighbor to walk out and like, hey, y'all need to go on inside, go to your house, do whatever you got to do. One of the 17-year-olds that passed away this week, they were out at 2-something in the morning. That's a problem. Like, you got to get the village involved and allow these adults who have some type of influence that's going to steer them in a positive way to be able to say something to them, to pour into them. I have so many people part of my village to this day. When I'm out, I'm not going to act a fool because I don't want them to go back and tell my mama nothing.
To this day, right?
38 years old, and I still feel my mama.
Like, oh, snap, Mr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We got to have some fear. Like, it's healthy fear. And, I'm going to be just real personal about what went on with me just on yesterday. We funeralized one of the 17-year-olds that passed away this week. There was an overflow because our chapel only fits about 200 people.
And one of these, let's be clear, one of these 17-year-olds that was killed by gun violence, right?
Gun violence. Yes,
okay,
correct.
Okay.
When I had a service prior to that. When I got back to my funeral home, there were nothing but kids sitting on the bricks at the funeral home, smoking, acting up. And I know they're all under 18. But also coupled with that, the police shut down that area. There were police everywhere. They're telling me all through the week, hey, we're going to be there. That's a problem that you can't go to a funeral service without any type of just reverence for the dead. And unfortunately, I got a call about the procession. There are children hanging out of the cars, waving guns, headed to Elmwood Cemetery. That's not a good look. Like, I have been on a funeral procession before that I was actually leading, and I had the police to pull over my entire procession. Why? They are doing this, waving back and forth, putting the escorts at risk of killing themselves. The escorts, which are motorcycles on services, they are there to make sure that the procession gets from A to B without any interruption. Why are you taking your cars and swinging them so far that you're purposely trying to hit the escorts? There is no respect when it comes to that generation. And unfortunately, a lot of people my age and older, they're afraid of them. They won't say anything to them.
Okay, that part. You're in the front of the procession, not knowing what's happening behind you.
Did not know.
And that's the idea that happens all the time. Like I'm in my space looking forward, not knowing what's happened, like what they're doing around. That's how we operate, even
True.
every day. So if I have to turn around to see this, or if I have to leave out of where I'm comfortable to see this and be a part of this, guess what I'm not gonna do? That. I'm not going to just voluntarily go into the neighborhood and call the gang members. Who's doing it? Like what?
But here's the thing, and she just said, I'm telling you, you got to understand the amount of the lack of respect, the lack of
Right.
morality. But here's the grave thing: the abundance of ignorance matched with fear. It's one thing to fear a child because of its size, or because it may talk back, or you had the ability to grab hold of
Right.
chest. But when 13-year-old Bobby, Ricky, whomever, Baby, Junebug, or Johnny can come back with the glizzy, right? With the
Right.
extendo. Remember, he ain't got to come back with it. When you grab him, he got it on him, right? And he will take no mercy in
Right.
knocking you down.
So-
Because guess what? His mind tell him he just popping you, but you're gonna get the chance to hit a reset.
You think so?
Oh, he think you can hit a reset because he didn't just kill 5, 8, 9 people on the game. He just beat up the police on GTA or whatever it was, ran over him. So the subliminal is crazy. It sounds crazy to us because of who we are in our age. But you're being fed this, fed this, fed this. Why you think you got teenagers buying booties that might end up hurting them or hurting their back later? You know, buying breasts that's tearing up their spine to be fine at this age, and no, because subliminally they're being told this is what you need. I'm off this soapbox. Go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry, but it's crazy.
It's good.
Listen, it's a lot of stuff going on.
Sure.
But a statistic, the teenage murder arrest rate is lower now than it was in the 60s. It is lower. If you go and look up the history of from 1960 to now, it peaked in the late 80s, early 90s.
Right, during the crack era.
It's been going down exponentially up to about year 2012 to 18. It rose, but still not significantly. And so I think the wrong place to have the conversation is at these kids done changed today, because that same violence done existed. And GTA in this, I think the harsh reality that we got to understand is that there's a certain amount of pain, grief, and loss that's calculated into our entire existence. You can go back down to Socrates, them, and they was dealing with the same kind of stuff that was going on. A percentage of society is going to be that. I think what we got to look at is what impact the social media have on it. I think the difference is we see it in bulk now. Like social media is like the Sam's Club of trauma. We can get it all in bulk. We can get it all in one place, right? And so I think that's helped some and that's hurt some. It's helped in the pregnancy rates because a lot of people are being educated through social media. And so the pregnancy rates, which were astronomical, have been declining, you know. But where it hurts is that a lot of kids have learned that the ways that a lot of pain can be perpetuated, somebody's doing it. I didn't know nothing about suicide when I was a kid. I didn't know that was an option. Now, not saying I'm the kind of, I don't know if I would ever I don't think I would have took it, you know, and I'm not saying that some people who take it because they found out as an option. But it's a lot of stuff that kids learn about that they're exposed to that is desensitizing them to a lot.
Yeah, we got to take a break. Quick break. Put a pin in it. We have another hour. So hour number 2, we're going to dig deeper. I think that these conversations come with depth, a lot of thought, and then not just thinking, but actually like reflecting on our experiences. We'll come back. We'll talk more about it. You're listening to Vital on V94.9 WATV. You can call in or chat with us during the break. I'm going to keep the mic hot right here on the V.
I really would like to hear from my intern on that because she's in the mix.
Yeah.
I definitely Birmingham and Spring Schemes. Because it's a lot that goes on. I think kids are like exposed to a lot of stuff because of social media. And it's like you said, we spoke about instant gratification. That comes from like, if you want to look something up, if you want to know something, it's right at your fingertips. You don't have to wait for anything.
And that's good and bad.
Yes, it's good and bad. Like everything has its pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
But also, hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Oh, okay. But also with social media, it's like I said earlier, like if you want to know how to do anything, it's at your fingertips. So it's like you don't have to go out and talk to people. Like it's all here. So like you want to learn how to hurt somebody, just go on YouTube, how to load a gun, how to fire it, anything. So
Mhm.
I think that is the issue with today's youth. It's like they are overexposed to the good and the bad and have an immense amount of access to whatever, especially if parents don't put restrictions on their kids' phones.
Mhm.
Any thoughts you have that comes to mind, there's an answer for it.
Mhm.
So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, they want instant gratification, and it's to the point that if we get into an argument, the instant gratification is I'm gonna kill you.
Yes. I get rid of you totally. Yes.
And we already had 30 deaths in Birmingham now. That's Q1.
Mhm.
If we were to keep that same trend, it would be 120. But it's about to be the summertime. The niggers come out in the summertime.
Yeah.
So it's probably double. Oh, sorry.
This thing gets deep real quick. Yeah.
Hey.
Send the link. So, wait a minute. That don't invite them to be in it, though. It wouldn't invite them to be in it, would it? I don't know. I don't know if it does that or not. Because that's the same link we got. Hmm. Oh, go to her 94.9. She got a stream going through there.
Fairfield.
Hey, shout out to Corey Savage. Minute, we got tons of dope intros. I got another one. I kind of want to drop on you, but I think I may save it. Maybe I'll save it. Maybe should I play it now?
Give it to us.
Let me go back and find it. Let's see. This is from award-winning producer. He's like on Beyonce stuff. Tons of people. I don't even want to start naming. Check this out. Just see if y'all remember this. Hold on. Let's see.
Class in session, baby. What's not young?
Okay.
It's nice.
The chick so clean right there. The body know who before she cut that her. Yeah. I'm from school of hip hop, but the boy keep rocking. Cool hip hop, but she keep on popping. Closed down shop, but we keep on shopping. Shoulda had ticks, all the chips we clocking. School of hip hop on mine. Sure her up how she stay so fly. Yeah. And then she go get it on mine. And you can check the stats, I ain't gotta lie. Yeah. The talk of the town, you can keep on talking. We pulling up cruisy, I can keep on jocking. Local lady woo, keeping me out knocking. It's like don't get it right in the city, you walking.
15 years, tons of intros. That was a
Nice.
dope one. We should put an album out.
You should.
That's nice.
Thanks, guys. a vital intro
A
album.
vital intro.
Let me try to find them out. What you say?
or just a playlist, the
We
vital
got
intro
that too.
playlist.
We'll do a playlist. Yeah. I was gonna put on a CD. Okay, we'll talk about that. That's good.
Business.
Thank you. So 15 years of this
I
work.
ain't gonna get that money.
Like not just the show, but the work of the show. So we were talking about young people and the influence and who shall go, who will say what is the issue. And Eddie, you were getting into the psychological part of all of this and just the history of it. You mentioned youth and young crime in the 60s. Was the fight the same though? What were the arrests about?
I don't know. It's just juvenile arrest for murder.
Oh,
Right?
so it is for murder.
Yeah, it's for murder.
Oh, okay.
Up to age 18 and under.
Interesting.
So all I'm saying is I think it's the wrong place to have a conversation is that something today is making those youth be more violent.
Gotcha.
I think we're seeing it more. And so I think when we focus on the youth have changed so much, we misdiagnosing the issue.
Okay.
If violence has been around for this age group that long. So what I would say is like, we got to figure out what that is then. We got if a certain amount of violence is going to already be calculated, I think what we got to figure out is where's the entry point to healing the trauma? Where is the entry point to processing the pain? Where is the entry point to these things that are creating this trauma? Because the exposure that we have, we're using it to say these kids are bad because they different, instead of using that same lens to be like, we can see more of their life now. We can see where they parents at. We can see, like, it don't take that much of a search to find out stuff about a kid, so why aren't we need to be, I think we need to be using that language to, instead of saying like, let's isolate this generation from that generation because we was better and they worse, like, we can see more now. Let's figure out what this story is for this person.
Gotcha. So that social media piece is not just the instant gratification. It's more of it could work both ways to the benefit of those who are actually trying to figure out the solutions and find out what the problems are. And it's also serving whatever purpose it's serving for the younger generations.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add that, like, we can't act like these kids don't got older uncles who are involved in that life, who have guns themselves, who are given access to like a lot of the most recent issues with kids who have used guns have been in the home because they had access to it and irresponsible parents in a lot of instances. So let's not act like there aren't people above these kids that are giving off this sentiment of violence. It's the same thing. Them same people who had that high rate in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of nephews and little cousins and kids now.
So we have to be honest about connecting the dots.
And subliminally too, because you're giving you okay, this whole thing is mental. Let's just go there, right? It is a structure and culture that's being fed to the mentality. He said two things. The first thing he said was, you have to understand, where do we start? We start at a young age, making it mandatory with a structured curriculum to teach them how to be thinkers, to individually process, and to end arguments or things that they get into with a communicative effort and not violence.
Where are they going to get it?
It has to start in school, where you have your greatest come together, where they can't run from, in the school system.
What age?
I'm thinking third grade minimum.
Okay.
I'm talking about young, to get them to process. Because what I teach a lot of times to my young people is this. Imagine you having a paper clip holder, right? And there's no paper clips in it. And you are shaking it, talking about, give me 2 paper clips. Well, if there's no paper clip in it, how can I give you something I don't have? But if I begin to put more paper clips in, which are the tools to teach them how to think, teach them what to think, teach them how to react, giving them different instances, or at least giving them a chance. They may not make the right decision all the time, but they'll have the tools and the knowledge to at least have a chance at making the right decision. Right now, we're asking the blind to lead the blind. We're asking for water out of an empty cup, and nobody's pouring into them. And when they do, they pour drops. You get to see people at Red Ribbon Week, at Drug Free Week, at, okay, this speaker wants to come in and talk to you, and you get to sleep half of that. No, this needs to be a curriculum that continually go on and on to help refresh the mind and give them opportunity, at least a tool that they need on a consistent basis. So now, in the third grade, to not every year you're adding tools.
I have a box. In the third grade, as I grow, it grows. My skills grow. Okay, so curriculum. Gino?
I think both of them make make great points. I did want to touch on Eddie's point earlier in the 1960s, and then even later. I do believe that that those numbers are a little bit skewed due to you had the stop and frisk that went in the in the 90s, 80s, 90s during the the crack cocaine and crack
Yeah.
epidemic. So a lot of I mean I know people watching Snowfall and BMF and all these shows that are on that are basically chronicling those times. And
Mhm.
so the murder rate was high due to the amount of drugs and the systematic injustices that were being put into the neighborhoods that was causing a lot of the not only gang violence but drug wars,
Everything.
everything that was going on. I mean, and it's being played back out. And so and I feel like to Dwayne's point, Big Daddy's point, these kids nowadays they do want to emulate a lot of these different things. Like we say that rap music and video games and lifestyle don't have a impact on the subliminal, but we all know that it does. Like it's one thing to be listening to the words to certain rap songs and or just the beats to certain rap songs. When you listen to the words to the rap songs and the words is they basically laying out a caper like what I'm finna do and da 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 da. Every song is about hitting a lick, you know, whatever. Everything has a violent connotation on it. Just about every song. Every song depicts what's that again? Or sexual violence, sex, and it depicts our people. It depicts our folks in the wrong light. You know what I'm saying? It's negative connotations all the way around. I just put it that way. Every song, but we like it, and we bop to it because we love the beats and different stuff like that. I love the beats, but it's certain songs that I just can't allow my kids to listen to because they're small, and I understand that words are impressionable over a long period of time. Visual, what you see and is is infectious.
Yeah.
And this stuff is called programming for a reason. Like Vital is a positive program.
Yeah.
Just like Teen Summit was a positive program. So, but it's other programs
How
that's out
you
here that are not
use your
positive.
program.
It's how you use your program.
And
So
one thing that like I had to challenge myself on is when I got into counseling and the kids was telling me the artists they was listening to, I was hypercritical of the violence they were listening to, but I was listening to No Limit every day in high school. Like they had a whole
Facts.
soldier theme.
Facts.
And so it forced me to say, what made me somebody who listened to the same thing, but it didn't impact me the same way? So I
That's
think
the
we got to
question.
expand that. I think it's like there are some kids who don't have the environment, who don't have the guidance, who don't have the parents, who have access to violence and substances that are going to make that music more seductive to them, to where it's like this, I have access to all these things. Like maybe if cocaine and guns and all this stuff was laid out in front of me on the table when I walked in the house, maybe I would have been more likely to take those messages I got from No Limit and go and grab it. So the question becomes, what are we doing about the community that allows a 13-year-old to access a gun? What are we doing about the parents who don't have the tools or resources to supervise their children and give them the tools that they need to know how to make better decisions? What do we do about the greater environment where kids can see violence happening in the community and believing that's how I am supposed to respond to things?
That is it. So it's because it's not new. That means that it is repeating, which means that if I saw it in my household and this is normal for us, it was normal for my mother or my father, it was normal for my grandmother. These are family cycles that we're seeing.
but it is more rampant now due to social media and the
Because
access.
we can all see it.
We
right?
can all see it, the access, and it's highly glorified. Like what's getting you more? I mean, it's crazy that a lot of these movies are now coming to fruition as far as people seeing things and wanting to do them. Like it's all about the views. My Snapchat, my TikTok, my whatever. It's all about the views, instant gratification, instant fame.
I'm gonna go
And so
live and run
I'ma go live.
up on these
Yeah.
people. I'm gonna go live.
I'm
and
gonna go
kill my
live and smoke this
husband
dude.
on-
Yeah,
on
I'm gonna go live and
Facebook.
do whatever I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go live, and I'm gonna get these views, and I'm gonna live in that instant gratification. I know that I might know that I'm going to jail, but just to be famous for them 15 minutes of fame, man. Now that ain't went nowhere. Them 15 minutes of fame.
Go ahead, Kate. You got something.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking about there are so many organizations that go into these neighborhoods to do so many things.
Yeah.
There are city events that go out and do so many things. But how do these things impact when we're at home and two cousins get into it and one shoots the other?
Right.
You know, like you can do so much. Like we're saying, where's our entry point to start this healing and whatnot. But if you got hurt people in their household hurting other people, then how do we stop that part? Like before you even go out into the world, you talking about the environment. That's the environment that you're already breeding. And I keep on saying the community, and the village, the village. But the village and everything else starts in the household. Even if mama works 3 different jobs, even if dad's not available, we gotta have some self-responsibility here and just say, you know what? I already know down the street Antoine ain't gonna do right. I'm gonna have my son who's doing really well to try to influence him a little bit. You know, I see this guy like I unfortunately had someone that I really, really cared about that could have had a basketball career, like, you know, going to college and then maybe something going past that. I would show them on Facebook, look how this person is posting, and they keep getting these scholarships and whatnot. They told me I was trying to control their life and control their Facebook page, and that's my page, in my opinion. This child had 15 scholarships before they were probably in the 10th grade. But you telling me I'm trying to control you? I'm trying to help you.
I just want to help.
Yeah, it's too many children that feel like they already know because they got access to the internet. They already know. I already looked on Facebook and it told me that I can do this, that, and the third. I can have the money spread out and whatnot.
Right. Okay, child.
They're smarter than us, so they think. And the morality. And nobody wants to. I taught this in a class the other day. Nobody wants the chain. You know what the chain is? The chain is the thing that snatches you and tells you that's enough. We don't want to compare them to dogs or animals. Understand the chain keeps them in the circle of, and the chain is the morality. I don't care if you worship sun gods, moonbeam rockets, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, you have to have something that keeps you morally conscious enough to say, that's too much. And nobody has nothing that snatches them. Everybody's able to run the fence and run again. And then you know what? Because they're running the fence and they're running again, guess what they realize? I can jump the fence.
Biblically, so believing in something, we have to believe in something to have a moral compass, right? Like if I don't have that, if I don't believe, I don't know. I'm just here. I'm just doing my thing day by day. I don't know. So if I don't have that, I don't have anything.
And the village without it is what?
Okay, so like there's no, we talk about a moral compass or a moral meeting place, which would be a church or a group or whatever, but without believing in something bigger than yourself that is positive. What are we expecting? So I meet people, we all work in these fields where we're meeting people every day at their lowest, honestly. And a lot of the things that I hear young men say is that, I posted this. I put a processing question out before a group, and this particular question was, "When are you your happiest?" And the young man responded, "I'm never happy." And the group members were just like never, man. You need, man. This a lot. You got to be grateful. You know how we do. We jump in, go straight positive. But nah, he's like, no, I hear you, but I'm never happy. And he kind of went into some reasons as to why he's never happy. And then the thing I thought about was, I can't make him happy. It's nothing that we can do to make someone happy, to feel a hollow void. I can't do that. However, I can introduce you to some things that maybe will spark some. So what do we do in these situations? I'm never happy. I don't have anyone. I don't really have anything. I've never been exposed to anything. My people don't have anything.
If we all do a little, we don't have to do a lot. We all don't have to do a lot. Simple things as in when you're walking in the street and you say, "Hey, how you doing?" Actually wait and listen to what their response is. Because somebody wants to be heard sometimes, When you're in the store, you know that the person behind you only about to spend $5 on their food. Go on and throw that $5 at the waiter or whatever, walk out.
Cover them. Okay.
And you already, made somebody's day for doing that little thing.
Okay.
So if we all just do a little, we ain't all got to do a lot.
Okay.
So just spread love. Love is, I think, the answer for everything. I'm a big Bob Marley fan. He said, love, I can't quote him, so I'm not going to mess up Bob, rest in peace. But seriously, if we spread love and just try to just give something every day, then you'll make an impact. I make it my purpose so while I'm walking, just smile. Do you know how many times someone will smile back at you if you just smile while you're walking around?
Absolutely.
That will change somebody's day just because you smile.
I want to also comment on, it's been a while since the youth has had hope.
Right.
What does hope mean in the community? What does hope mean to the elders? What does hope mean to the youth? What does hope mean to us as the kind of the middle of the road folks that's out here trying to make a difference and trying to make a positive turn in different people's lives? But if you don't have hope, then how do you progress?
What is hope?
Exactly.
So if I don't have
If you
that
don't if you
moral,
don't know what it is,
right? I don't believe. I don't know what to believe in. I don't know that
I
that's
have
a part
nothing
of
to
hope,
believe.
right?
If
Like
I go to church, I pray for this. My mama still got to work, or my best friend still getting killed.
church.
I'm just saying, if I
What?
pray,
Been in no
if
church,
I
boy?
pray and I still lose, the exact thing that I prayed for still happens to me. So now
Pray?
now hope now that's out.
And that's the thing.
Church and pray. I don't even know if those still exist.
The other thing is
mainstream.
that love, or the assumption, or the thing of love has failed so many people that they no longer believe, and they no longer have hope in the action or in what it is. People have
Okay.
given them such a fake facade. People have given them love, not unconditional, under pretense of unconditional. People have said they gave unconditional love to them until they did something they didn't want, and then they no longer love them. So now they see love as a negative thing, so they don't even have hope in love. They don't have hope in people. They don't have the key to it all. When it's all said and done, like Casey, is love, but it is some sort of greater than you hope that whatever you got going on is not worth giving up everything for the little bit. You know, our old saying to be, "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater." And,
We ain't old as you.
yeah, okay, but
Well, we don't know that one.
you know what? I'm gonna regress to the intern.
Zing.
Don't throw the baby out with the
Honestly,
bathwater.
sometimes I feel like it's hard for people to see past their situation, especially it's like if negativity is all you know. I feel like you kind of have to go to a deeper means, which is like go within. But like even then, some people don't know how to go within or like where to even start. But I did have a thought when we were speaking earlier, like maybe we should try psychology classes starting earlier than college. So people can understand the mind, understand how your emotions work and all of that, because you don't have access to that until you get to college. And like a lot of the people that we're speaking of, college is not an option for them. That's not even a thought. Even if you graduate, high school is in the question. So I think people do have to go within and also just like find outside resources. But again, like sometimes people are hopeless and don't know where to look for things at.
I like that. Social emotional intelligence early. Eddie, you all on that.
I'm not making this as a declaration, but I think this is something that we need to explore. We know about post-traumatic slave syndrome. And what I talk about a lot of times is, as individuals, if your ability to take care of yourself is throttled, how much you can tend to other people is going to be limited. If you only got 20%, you can't give more than 20%. You got to make sure you're up to a certain percentage to be able to give that. We really have to explore is what we have to explore is the African Americans steeped so deep in our trauma that we aren't be able to be present for ourselves. I mean, we are still deeply intertwined in white supremacy. And even though some of us have gotten out to be able to create those community programs in the community, is it enough of us to change? And do we have enough facilities and resources to actually address that extra trauma that's left that we still are partially blinded by ourselves?
Okay.
Like, I feel like, I don't know, if $1 billion got dropped into black neighborhoods, would we know what to do with it to make ourselves better? I
Where you
wonder.
dropping
I don't
it?
know. That's what I'm saying. The fact that you asking that, the fact that that's a thought that come up for somebody, it's like this is intra-community things that like we have to ask the question: are we in the place psychologically and culturally? Do we have the cultural capital to actually be able to tend to ourselves the way that we need to be tended to? And not saying that we can't attempt to, but we have to calculate that if it is a limitation into what the solutions are.
Now, I've heard that term twice today.
Which one?
Post-traumatic slavery era.
Slave syndrome.
Yeah, slave syndrome. Some of these kids don't even know what happened during slavery. So how
okay.
they why are they so
They
traumatic?
don't
Why
even
is it
identify
traumatic?
with
to
it.
them? Yeah.
So
It's
what
in the
I
DNA.
so what I talk about when I talk about anxiety is if your mama when she was young got her car window busted in because somebody walked down the sidewalk when she was in the car, and that was her trauma.
Mhm.
Without telling you that, when you and her are in parked on the side with a sidewalk, any shadowy figure that come by, you gonna see your mama lock the door real
Pull
fast.
you up, yeah.
And without knowing what happened to your mama, at some point you're going to adopt the idea that when a shadowy figure is walking by, I gotta lock the door real fast.
Mhm.
So a lot of our traumas are passed down subconsciously, and that's easy to see on a individual level. But like culturally, systemic racism, that's essentially what it's talking about. It's talking about like the police book that the police operate from. They ain't never scrapped that old book from the early 1900s. They got the same book with a bunch of amendments that make it super thick.
Right.
Like it is, we're operating from the same systems that broke us, just with some amendments, but with people in those systems who feel like it'll just be better if it was how it was before. Some people, don't get me wrong, are in there saying like we need to be progressive, we need to change, but we keep seeing every day that there are people like the California police gangs that we seeing all these documentaries about. There are people in those systems who are willing to use black bodies as initiations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot to explore when it comes to that, because how much is unconsciously being passed down because of how grandmama is acted in the house because she knew folks who was in the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, and now she ain't finna go see no white doctor. If she even go to the doctor, she definitely ain't finna talk about no mental health, because you ain't finna go tell this white system.
But grandma 40. She don't even know about that.
But what I'm saying is, what makes it systemic is that grandmama that's 40 had a grandmama that's 80 that had that, and she gave her that, and then so it's like when did that intervention happen to where somebody absolutely don't even know nothing about that history?
It never
and that
happened,
because it's keep passing it down, and it's like that game of telephone where it's like you start off on one end with one message, and as it passed down, it gets misconstrued somehow to where clearly white supremacy don't want us to remember stuff the way it was. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're not getting history as it is. Well, we was talking about the museum earlier. Like, we are owed that history.
Right.
We are owed the truth of our existence here.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a multifaceted thing, and it's just I be wondering, are we prepared to do that?
Right. I want to jump in there too, Red, and say and commend you on what you said earlier about percentages and how you can only give this, and if I don't have this to give, same thing Dwayne said too. So I heard a sermon probably about 10 to 15, probably about 15 years ago, and it basically went on, I can't pour, you have to find people that can pour into you. Because if I'm always a poor, like, everybody has their jobs. It's like Indian tribes, African tribes, all these different tribes. Some people are hunters, some people are gatherers, some people make clothes, some people cook, some people do all this. Whatever your ministry is, that's what we got. I guess we say now, whatever your ministry is. So, like y'all are in the healing ministry. You guys are counselors and you counsel people and you help people. But who pours into you? When people are you're constantly pouring into people trying to help them, but who pours into you? And I feel like now we have a certain amount of people that are pouring, and a certain, and then you got a lot of people that are just receiving. They bowl overflowing, they cup overflowing, but they still just receiving, but they're not pouring. They're not pouring into others. Like, I might be poured out, and so when I'm poured out, what good am I?
So like, as it pertains to therapy, the way I see it is like when you watch a movie and the bomb squad come in and they got the person with that big old round suit to where if it blow up, it at worst I'll roll around a little bit. That, I think that's how we come armed to take on to somebody else's trauma. And not only that, but like, we got to go to therapy. Like, we got therapists in that way too. We have to self-care too. As a therapist, I just had a 10-year-long cycle of what I consider a healthy self-care regimen, and I have a bunch of therapists that I call and collaborate with when I don't need a direct therapist, which I have needed a direct therapist before. So I think, but I think everybody have access to that armor, not necessarily in a formal way, but everybody have access to fortifying how they absorb everything that society is going to give us.
You're listening to Vital on V94.9 WATV, a very heavy conversation. And I'm just kind of like enjoying the fact that I have men in studio to have this conversation with. When we see the issues that are in front of us, who are we seeing the most? True, a young lady was killed in the midst of these teen killings, 17, 16, 17, and one of them was a female. But a lot of times it's males. And I'm in spaces where I go and talk to boys and young men, but I would love for them to be able to always hear from Gino, Dwayne, and Eddie and men like that. I also have a man that's in the comments. We went to elementary school together. What up, Anthony Oliver? Anthony is a principal in the city. And Anthony says, to Eddie's point, those same traumas exist in schools, churches, and communities. Like it was said before, it's systemic. People have had bad experiences in various spaces, and our children pay because of those experiences.
And I think this is a great conversation. I don't never think it's going to be handled in one day, but what I do want us to understand is a couple of things. One is that things are just passed down for no reason, right? It's the story of the ham bone. I don't know, you ever heard the story of the ham bone? And it went for generations till some young person like yourself said, why are we doing this?
So tell the story.
Okay, so the story goes that it was Thanksgiving, and the young lady was in the kitchen with her mother, and she said, Mom, why do we, slice the bone off on the end of the ham? She said, I don't know, go ask your grandmother. So she went and asked her grandmother, and she asked her grandmother, she said, I don't know, go ask your great-grandmother. And your great grandmother said, well, what did your mom and your grandma tell you? She said, they say they didn't know they had shoes. She said, well, I don't know why they do it, but we did it because they wouldn't fit in the pan. So for years and years and years, you had people thinking cutting the bone off was for a reason, but all it was because in their time, they didn't have a stove big enough. They had a wood burning stove that the ham couldn't fit in, so they had to cut it. But nobody ever told the real story, and everybody kept it a secret as to why. So we keep too many secrets. We hold things, and then people have to have a want. We talked about hope, but you have to want to receive. I tell people, even when I preach, the Bible says it to me this way. It says that first you must want, desire. You have to have a need for wanting change. Because I can give you all the information you want, I have. But if you don't want to change, if you don't see a need for change, if you have accepted death and destruction and killing, murder, kill, violence, if that's what you've accepted, such as life, and the thing is, we're not coming down the generation. When I was 25, I had accepted being dead at 25.
Yeah.
I literally thought when I turned 26, I didn't know what to do with my life because I was supposed to be dead according to the statistics of what I was doing, the people I was around, and what I was involved in. So when I turned 26, I was at a loss because I was supposed to be my daughter's daddy on the front of a T-shirt and didn't know what to do. But now it has reverted back from 25 to this day and time. 17, 16 is the average. So now they're living like, I ain't got a lot of time. I'm going to do what I do with what I got. And anything that get in my way of doing it, going to get done. Because I ain't out here for long anyway.
And so that's the thing. Like, if that's the idea, and you're looking at gang wars, basically, like, what? Gang wars in 2023? Like, you would, a lot of people would think that was in the 90s. No, it's still present.
Yeah, that was an eye-opening last year. I think our mayor put up about, there were gangs in the city. I was like, really?
And it's neighborhood based. It's basically the same thing it always has been. It ain't just Bloods, Crips, folks. It ain't that. It's like, I'm from Inslee. It's the Bush Hills Bandits. It's the Fairfield Fighters, whatever.
And they take that to heart.
Yeah. And don't even pay taxes. Don't even know the history of the city. Don't even own the house. The parents don't even know who they rent. Like, they don't know any of this, but I love where I'm from, or either these are the people that took me in, this who I grew up with. We need something to believe in. So remember the clip that I played from Mayor Langford. He said that they have no causes. They have no causes. There are a couple of different generations present. What was a cause in your era, like growing up around 16, 17, what were or are people fighting for? None of us are 16 or 17. So think about your time in that age and what was the cause?
I can remember, I would say during my hours was just remember my parents going to work, and like affirmative action was like the big thing in like the 90s. Like 80s, 90s. I mean, and so they were, they really, people really marched on like our parents' age, their level of in their careers, trying to get to the upper echelon of that of their companies or whatnot.
Okay, that was them, but he was speaking to the youth having a cause.
Oh yeah.
Like, what was it for us as youth?
I'm the elder in the room, so I'm gonna go real quick here.
Okay.
I'm Rodney King, NWA. That's my era. My era was y'all ain't gonna just keep doing us this way, and we gonna get some straightening out here. Police brutality was really, really big.
Police
And
brutality.
my team, yes, so we're talking late '80s, early '90s. And that was my big thing.
Okay, so police brutality.
Guess ours would have been drugs.
I was gonna say dare.
Dare, yeah, that was the only cause. Dare, McGruff, the crime dog.
Y'all know the 20-year follow up of Dare proved that it was utterly unsuccessful.
Clearly
unsuccessful.
Yeah, like it's like arguably the opioid crisis is the result of that, because the age of people that's in the opioid crisis were in the class with me in Dare.
Like, oh, that's what you can do with that when you turn 18. I'll
I'm
remember
gonna
that. What? Sign me up. So unsuccessful.
But I guess I bring that up because what is it to say that was our cause and it turned out to be
a demise,
problematic, not helpful in the least. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I think it goes back to your point, Eddie. Systematic.
100%, because that's what the system thought that would help, but the system was wrong. But I guess I don't want to say, I don't know if it's the luxury of having this, but I was vastly shielded from the world around me. And maybe that's the luxury of not having social media like these kids did.
Yeah.
I had no idea. My mama was like, my mom and my grandparents were like, listen, white people going white, just leave them alone. And so I had to catch up with my blackness later in life.
Wait,
you know what I'm saying? I was just like, yeah, like I just grew up in a town.
You gotta let them white.
Yeah,
white people go white. That is a quote. That's a t-shirt.
Put that on t-shirt. I've forever.
Yeah, like just leave them alone. I grew up like that, and so it's like I went into college like, oh no, we ain't finna go over there now. That's where the white folks at, you know. And so I had to grow into believing that I should be where I'm at, wherever I'm at, right? And so I was shielded from this stuff, and I would imagine that a lot of people were shielded, and it was isolated to your own personal home environment.
But where are you from?
I'm from Chambers County,
like
Lynette, Alabama.
That
Lynette,
Alabama. Yeah,
right.
So that is not the black, but it's like on the Georgia.
It's
Alabama
on the Georgia
line.
borderline.
Yeah.
So thinking about where you were, like you say, I'm gonna just be where I am, where I'm supposed to be, type thing. Look at Gino, like, how you get here? So thinking about like how you even get, we're in the city. You come to Birmingham, you're in the big city. You come from, where are people come from? Utah. Where they come from? Are you trying to make connections to?
I did. I had a black moment. I said, you know how when somebody called out, oh, you from? I said, oh, you know such and such. Yep. He said, yeah, I know him. That's my.
Oh my goodness,
small world, you know what I'm saying?
Old.
Lynette, they big time basketball county though.
Okay, so Lynette, right? Like Lynette to Birmingham, we're in the Magic City. This is the city. So were our experiences different from Eddie's being in the city? And where you from, Michelle?
Without a doubt.
From Birmingham, from the city.
Without a doubt.
So we weren't could we really be sheltered from what was happening in the city?
Well, we were sheltered to a degree because
we walked to Western Hills Mall together.
We definitely did that. But I mean that was
as children.
But to Kate's point, that was back. There was a village.
Right.
Anybody in that mall, like folks knew folks at the store, folks at Captain D's, folks at Miss Winters, Lee's, like if we out there in that street, like the neighbors watching us, if you ain't notice when we walking, it's folks in they looking out their window, okay, that's some such.
And we knew who they were enough to see them doing it and speak back and not be offended.
So I want to clarify what I was saying too. What I was saying is that today, kids who would otherwise be sheltered in a family could create the narrative for them, good or bad, don't have the luxury of that. They don't have the luxury of that. Like if I would otherwise have been sheltered and I grew up with it. Like, I mean, it's kids in Birmingham who was relatively sheltered from their family and wasn't out here like that, They don't have the luxury of that now. Everybody got to know what's going on, even if you don't want to know what's going on. Even if you go to the school, you're going to learn at the school. You're going to learn on the TV. You're going to learn on social media.
You're going to learn at church.
You got to be intentionally blocked out from the world for that.
And that was my point. I do believe that social media, like our social media back then, you can't sneak and get on the internet back then with that AOL. Like your mom, everybody waking up. Ain't no, you know what I'm saying? I never forget. I got the Machiavelli CD. early. You know what I'm saying? My folks was like, don't be listening to them with no cussing on it. You know, I'm trying to play the Machiavelli CD, and you know what I'm saying? I put it in the CD-ROM, not knowing you had to turn that volume down on the speaker manually beforehand. Man, I'm talking about it's blasting. You know, the most live Machiavelli verse on there. Oh man, that was probably one of the worst.
And that's the one that came on.
That's the one that came on, and so but we did not have. We did have the luxury, I guess, of being sheltered somewhat because we did not have access to. There was no smartphones. Like internet was not rap. And then if you went to the library to get on the internet, you couldn't even search certain stuff. Back then, you know what I'm saying?
Ask Jeeves was not.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Like we went to the library to play Oregon Trail. Like I'm on that.
Early search basically told you what you could find in an encyclopedia.
He's right.
It wasn't a whole bunch of articles and people's accounts and stuff and websites and scammers.
You gotta go. Get that D over there.
I can do it.
Get that D over there. Get that D. Have you ever been in an encyclopedia? Literally. Have you ever? No, they used to walk around and sell them. They used to sell them, and on the wall, Britannicas.
Whoa.
Last summer, I was looking up an encyclopedia, and I was telling my dad, oh my God, this is so interesting. I'd love to have one. But the price of them was so crazy. And it's just the fact that, I've never even held one before.
She said, I would love to have one. Yeah. Like it's a...
because it's a relic.
It's a relic.
It's a relic. It's history.
It's a collector's item.
But let me say this. And we're having fun at the same time thinking, but the bottom line, we've talked about a lot of things, but this is one I don't want us to miss within our last half an hour. RESPCT. And it says, listen, what she said, find out what it means to me. If you add, this is one of the key questions in my anger management and stop the violence class, right? It always comes up, it never fails. Them dudes gonna respect me. Yes. They gonna give me my respect. I die for my respect. And the first question I ask in every class is, what is respect? And why is it worth dying for? Yeah. Because what you feel is respect, I may feel is not disrespect. And it's apparent that y'all don't really know what respect is, because usually I sit in my class for 30 minutes the first class and don't say anything. I'm listening to what they're talking about, the subject matter, the words that they're singing, the things that they're going, and they're singing everything, doing that, walking around, talking to each other, throwing up gang signs, blah, blah. I'm like, well, so you think it's respectful to walk in a room with an elder, not say hello, hi, sit down and wait till he gives you an instruction to cuss, fuss, and talk about your mama, your baby mama, your daddy mama, your sister mama, the girls you with. I just run down the whole list of what they talk about in front of me as normal. But guess what? I think it's disrespectful. So should I kill you now? Should I die for my respect? Because you just disrespect me and didn't even know me. So then you get the juices flowing, because Aretha said it. Find out what it means. You have to find out what it means to them, because they're disrespectful and don't even know they're being disrespectful, because they have no idea of what it is to respect. Anytime an elder came on a block, anytime somebody
shut it down and
listen, man, y'all gonna stop doing what y'all doing, because we go help Miss Mary bring them groceries in. When I was on the block is hot, but guess what? Y'all gonna stop being hot till Miss Mary get inside.
Hey,
till
Miss
she close
Mary.
her door. Till she close her door. Until when you see her close that door like she in for the night, then y'all come back out here. We not tripping like that, but that was because of a moral compass. That was because of people understanding the values and having respect and knowing what it was and how to lay it down. Now everybody do anything, and then I smoke you and your mom. I give this to you and you. I wish your daddy would come out here and tell us we can't sell. I kill you and your part. Man. And so now you got things like that going on.
Well, it's the foundation of that respect. Like we were talking about earlier, you saying y'all walking in Bellwood or whatever. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And when you passed by and you saw people, you spoke, right? My mom said back, well, you ain't get in trouble though when you got home if you didn't speak to certain people. My mom said back in the day, if they were walking and they passed by somebody's house and they were on the porch and they didn't speak, by the time she got to her house, it's going to be at least one neighbor that's going to stop them like, why you didn't speak to Miss Smith? And by the time you get home, you're going to get beat.
Dang,
it was like it was a level of respect. I mean, shout out to Roosevelt City. Like that's a different neighborhood now, but back then they had to do that. If you didn't speak to everybody that you passed by, that was a level of respect right there. So we've lost that, because I know when kids pass by, they don't even speak now. No, so it's just that core respect that we've lost.
And this probably finna be an unpopular opinion considering this conversation piece that we at right now. but a lot of these kids don't know that they have access to respect. You know,
Access to
like
respect.
that
What is
same
that?
that same family who they wave that they supposed to speak to. If that family is disrespecting them and cussing them out, they gonna still get that same whooping if they don't speak to them, because the people from across the street don't know that experience that the kids had with that.
Okay.
Like people in my neighborhood was acting crazy towards me at times. You know, I don't know. I don't always know what it was. It could have been mental health. It could have been anything, right? And so when I go home and my folks is telling me you got to speak to the people who do you harm without considering that I may be being harmed, it's a lot of kids that don't believe that they have access to respect.
Let me add something to that. There are a lot of adults who don't feel that children deserve respect.
Hit the bell on that.
Yeah,
Hit the bell for
like-
yourself.
Okay, for me.
Yeah, hit the
Okay.
bell.
Let me yes, bell. Just today had an experience where I was able to bring that perspective in the room. Discipline and what that looks like how you discipline. And it was several different generations in the space that we were in. And I said, children have the right to say, you know what, I am in a bad mood today. They're human, they have emotions and feelings. And adults should say, you don't have no feelings, you don't have no mood, you ain't got no back, you ain't got no what?
But that's how we was raised.
I wasn't raised like that.
Depress them dishes.
Like they let me say I'm upset or whatever, but I knew where to go with it. Like it's the whole thing. You have to give all of that.
But because we've given access to no boundaries, they don't know how to compartmentalize that.
So how
Once
would
they
say
run it, Mom, I really had a hard incident.
Yeah.
Or I had a hard day today. I understand what you're saying. Can you give me a few minutes? Can you give me a few minutes to get myself together?
Right?
For a child, and that's true too. But for a child to tell me about because at the end of the day, here's another bad thing, and we're gonna talk about it. Most people don't have communication skills.
That's the thing.
So when they go to talk, they just get irritated, and they're like that. You ain't got no job. The hell you gonna and I pay and you talk about bad days. Bad days when your daddy left and you're acting like your pop.
So now I go in my room and I punch a hole in the wall. Then I get real mad. Then I go out and I do something in the streets.
But guess what? And now 2023, I ain't even taking it to the streets. Now I come back in the living room and I pull Mama's TV off the wall. I hit Mama. I go get Mama's gun that I know where she put it at, and I shoot Mama.
Yeah.
And then I come to the funeral, I cry, and I claim I want some kind of help mentally and young adult, whatever, and I get out in 5 years for killing my own mama. Yeah, that part.
So are we not gonna say that that's not a mental health
That's definitely mental health. That's definitely mental health.
It is a mental health issue, but I also think that goes back to what I said about psychology being taught sooner than what it needs to be. Because for one, like I know y'all are a generation like ahead of me, quite a few, but the way y'all were
just talking to you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that way.
The way
2 years
y'all
older
were
than you.
raised, it was more so like you don't talk back. What I say goes. You don't have a voice, and I think that that's a psychological issue for raising a kid and telling them you cannot speak to me in a way that makes me feel like I'm smaller than you. When in reality, I just have to voice my emotions and you're suppressing them. And then you wonder why I don't want to come and speak to you. You wonder why I'm trying to hit you. You wonder why I'm out here getting in trouble at school because you're not allowing me to voice how I feel.
Because you ain't my little friend.
But I do, and there you go.
Discipline a child and show them this is how you go about expressing your emotions. This is how you go about speaking to other people and stuff like that.
Lips swole. That's true.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle. But you know, that's how you spend your room. You get your teeth knocked out. Like, you really gonna knock my teeth out because I wanted to tell you that I was sad. And I had a hard day with my timetables.
You hitting me because I'm sad?
And because I couldn't.
I don't understand.
But I will say it's a little, and this, having a military father that was in the military, and so just a certain level of discipline that was going in respect. We learned about respect and all that stuff. We also learned about tact, and tact is how you say things to people. So I know that I can't. Yeah, if I don't care if I saw my dog get ran over, everything else. I'm not finna come in the house slamming no doors and going crazy and tell my dad, "Well, I had a bad day." He gonna be like, "I don't care what kind of day you had. Who you think you talking to? Why you slamming my door? Yeah, your day just got worse, bud." And so, I understood. the level of tact that I needed to go to him and say, Dad,
Correct.
such says, what I'm saying, the dog got hit today. I got a C on my math test. I know you're gonna be upset about that. You know what I'm saying? Or I got hit hard in practice today, or I got into a little scuffle today. So it's a way to talk to your parents, and your parents have to be receiving, but it's that level of respect that you maintain for your parents. And if you and like Dwayne said, respect. What is respect? Most of 99% of the time, if it's given, it's received, and it's
It's just
reciprocated.
understood,
And
right?
yeah, but it's reciprocated. I'm gonna say 99%. Now it's that 1% which that we're seeing and we deal with, but it's not a lot of respect being given. There's no grace being given nowadays. We living in a graceless world. Like, I'm not giving you the grace enough to speak to you or respect you because you're my elder. I'm coming in the room and you know what I'm saying, I feel like my burner, my extendo longer than yours, my block hotter than yours.
Whatever. I'm already there.
I'm already there. So why I gotta respect you? Why I gotta speak to you? I'm in my own mode. I'm in my own mood. Don't bother me. I ain't bothering you. But if I have a bad day, then I might just bother you.
I think there's a host of people that when they say respect, what they really mean is coerced compliance. It means I've set the rules for you, and you're going to follow these rules, and that's respect.
That's correct.
When you see Miss Johnson, you say hey to Miss Johnson. Don't ever not say hey to Miss Johnson. It don't matter what Miss. This is the part that's not said. Even if Miss Johnson done something bad to you, I don't care how an adult done treated you in your life. The way that you gonna carry our family name out here, so that people can look at us as a family, as a cohesive, positive unit, is you gonna say hey to Miss Johnson.
Now, are you against that, or you for? Or
I'm
you
against that.
Okay,
it's because it's not respect. Respect. Every time I start working with parents, I ask them a question at the beginning when I first meet them. How do y'all believe that respect is allocated? And they always say respect is earned. I say in every scenario, respect is earned. And then they say, yeah. And then when I get to asking them about, okay, so how do children get respect? It's like, no, children do what I say. It's not like that concept.
They can't earn it.
Yeah, that concept of them having to respect their children goes out the window when it comes to children, which goes back to Woo point about like some parents just don't believe children are supposed to have respect. They're supposed to just comply. And parents call that compliance respect. If you do everything that a parent tell you to do as a child, they're going to say you're a respectful child. And the people around them going to say a respectful child. But that child could very well have been getting disrespected by everybody the whole time.
Respect versus rebellion and how that develops and how different generations look at it. That's a thing.
What age does a child command or I guess deserve? I mean, everybody deserves respect. Don't get me wrong. Now, let me get my words out right
from the top.
But what age? Because I'm a firm believer in when your child is 1, 2, and 3 years old. I need you to do what I say because it could mean life and death. If I say stop, I want you to stop on a dime like a robot because that could mean you not running out in the street, getting hit by a car, something gravely wrong happening at some points. I'm not just yelling at you. I'm not beating on you. But when you're 1, 2, 3, probably even up to 5, 6, I need you to do exactly as I tell you to do because it could mean detriment.
True.
Okay. And so I don't need to. Yes, I can listen to you and see how you feel about something after the fact. We could talk about it. We could talk about what I'm asking you to do after the fact. But you don't have as a child, as your brain's developing, you're not, and your emotions and your feelings are developing. You're not understanding some of the things that I'm needing you to do at that early age is to your benefit because I am your legal guardian. I am your parent for a reason.
But it doesn't mean that I don't. That doesn't mean that I disrespect you. That means that
yeah, I'm not agreeing with that. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying it to those who still feel like I hear what you're saying, but still you don't get no respect.
Right? No.
Like I still don't have feelings and nerves. Like if I say I get on my nerves, I still don't have that. I don't have any nerves. So I don't know what age you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A kid,
I really don't.
A kid can't tell. Like that's you're disrespecting me. If a child tells me I'm getting on their nerves, that's disrespectful.
They're not gonna say it that. So we're not telling your child to tell you, Daddy, you're getting on my nerves.
Not my child, but even I have these nephews. Yeah, all that. I just don't feel like that's the respect. That's the line of respect that we're talking about.
No, at a certain age,
a child should not be able to tell an adult you're getting on my nerves.
At a certain age, those children are using the language and actions of the adults that raised them.
Right.
So if they've learned that, what we're saying is that you just shouldn't do what adults do when you need to be leading by language. What goes into what I'm talking about is like you got to give respect to get respect as an adult.
Agreed.
You know,
and so my point to that was tactfulness though. like me being in, and it's not subservient, but me being in a, like they like the older folks tell you, stay in a child's place or whatever. If I'm a child, I was taught to respect people that are older than me to to a certain degree. Of course, like you don't have to be disrespectful. Yep, yep.
Let's take a phone call. We have time for one caller in tonight's show. You're in with Vital. What's your question, comment, thoughts, feelings on the topic tonight?
Yes, on the FM dial, V94.9, the last part of the V94.9 is on the phone, on the alphabet on the phone. It's the eight. The eight is the eight, and the 949. That's the phone number. The last phone. So I don't know about the 994, but the last part 8949.
You helping me from earlier.
8949 on FM dial.
I sure appreciate it.
And I can't believe you forgot the number.
Man, it happens. I forget things all the time, but I thank you for getting me straight from the first hour. Appreciate you.
All right, bye.
And what I say,
Nah.
What let me throw this monkey wrench in, maybe for this week or next week. But here's the monkey wrench for the night, right?
I can't believe I did that.
We live in a society where wrong is right, and right is wrong, even if wrong is the right to tell them what the wrong thing is done.
Oh, that's deep,
It's
brother.
crazy. It's like, I worked as a nightclub. I ran a nightclub for years, right? And I've seen it over and over. A person could be dead wrong, and you can express to them how wrong they are, but they're right because they feel they're right, even when you show them they're wrong. And I'm talking 20 years ago, and this has just festered and matriculated until now. You can't even tell a person they're wrong. You can't even explain to them the wrong because they don't see no wrong in what they've done. Because they did it, they feel they were right. I just want to throw that out there.
I did it because I needed to. It's self-perseverance.
They justify. Justification is another animal that is a real problem in this world today. Justification. I will justify my wrong to make it right for me to do it, because if I say I was wrong, that meant I did something that I should have.
Man, I just cut somebody off for that. Don't ever talk to me again because you're crazy.
I was going to respond to Gino.
It's crazy.
I think that there's a difference between children following appropriate instruction, which appropriate, because inappropriate instruction can come from an adult. Like when you give kids a one size fits all, listen to adults, that can be dangerous.
Right.
That is a difference between that and forcing your kids to do arbitrary things without checking in on them to see what the issue is. So instead of hearing from the neighborhood that your kid didn't say hey to Miss Johnson,
right,
checking in with your child and saying, hey, do you have a problem with Miss Johnson? Is Miss Johnson okay? Because I would like for you to communicate with Miss Johnson. And that's what I'm asking. Do you have the willingness to check in with your child to see if something that you're asking them to comply with could be a problem for them? It's a big conversation about, making kids hug family members. They might not like some family members, but it's a lot of parents who be like, hug you gonna go hug him. He asked you for a hug. He
tried to touch on me.
And that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Parents, so how are we allowing our kids to understand that they have a voice, and that in instances where they may be doing something that I think may be uncomfortable, am I checking in with them?
I want to take two quick phone calls. Caller, you're in with Vital. What you got real quick and make it be relevant.
Hey, how are you guys tonight?
We are great. How are you?
What's up?
I am good. Listen, I'm loving the conversation that you guys are having tonight. And I just kind of wanted to make a comment about being respectful, and how you use the example of seeing Miss whoever her name is out in the street. And Miss Jackson. And I think that we kind of maybe don't have the right understanding of what respect is.
Okay.
Because in order to respect a person, you need to know a person. I think when we see Miss Jackson, it's courteousness that we're showing.
Gotcha.
And that's also a good quality.
Okay, gotta go. Hold it. Caller, you're in with Vital. You got like 2 seconds. Go.
Thank you, Lady Wu, for taking my call. It was an example of respect with the caller before the lady. There was a way to say about not giving the number or not remembering it. We had a rap session. We had a rap session after our worship today with our young people, parents, and everybody of all generations and ages. And it was all about respect.
Right.
Children deserve respect. My husband and I raised our children respecting them and their voice, their thoughts, their ideas, and it is vital that we respect children and that children give adults respect.
Thank you so much. Perfect. So tonight we got a lot in. A little is a lot. That's what our Lillian says. Believing and hope come from foundation. We got to start instilling that back in the beginning, some type of belief system. Social and emotional intelligence must be taught early, and it's all about love and respect. So we got those things. Now, what we do with them, that's another show. All right. Anything before we go? We got like 2 seconds.
And love everybody. Just show love this week.
To everybody.
Everybody. Show some
Just
love.
love.
Even Miss Johnson, if she been mean to you.
Just love.
Yeah, just
I love you too, Miss Johnson.
Throw up a peace sign at least.
Be courteous.
Something outside her generation, so she might feel like it's disrespectful.
You know I don't like you, Miss Johnson, but have a good week. Tune in tomorrow at noon. Lady Woo's Midday Fun Sway with your ugly self. Y'all have a good night. Be vital all week, and we hope that you take something that you heard tonight and give it to somebody else. Share the stream every week. We'll talk to y'all next Sunday. Oh, we're on Saturdays for a few minutes too at 9 a.m. for the best of. So be sure to catch us then too. You never know what you might hear. Y'all have a great week and a good night.
Pour into somebody.
All right. Good show, folks.
Great show,
Good
man.
show, folks.
Yeah,
Y'all
I'm
gonna
with
get
you.
some
I'm with
calls
you
on that?
on. I'm not. How do I put it? So my kids 3, 5, and